Greetings and salutations to you all once again. It is me, the lovely Ravenous Spectre. See my smiling face? Yeah, so anyways, this is a tribute video, and this is about The Undertaker. For those of you who ended up seeing WrestleMania 33 this past Sunday night, the final match was Roman Reigns versus The Undertaker. The Undertaker has a storied history of great matches, great match types, great rivalries, great everything. From the moment that he was the dead man to the point where he was the American Badass and back to the dead man again. Some people don't like the American Badass gimmick. Honestly, I did. I really did like the American Badass gimmick, and obviously I like the Dead Man gimmick because that was what he started out with. But he has always been one of my favorite wrestlers. He always has been. And, yeah, I had always been wondering whether or not he was going to retire sometime soon. Because, I mean, he's in his 50s, I believe, and I just kind of sat back at the end of that match. He was in there in the ring. Obviously, Roman Reigns had beat him, and you could see on Roman Reigns' face as he was walking up the ramp. And I know he's getting a lot of heat, a lot of hate, a lot of poison, I guess you could say, from the fans and all of that. But you could see on his face as he was walking up the ramp how it seemed like he didn't want to do it. It seems like he just had this look on his face like, damn, dude, I didn't want to do this. I didn't want the crowd to look at me this way, to perceive me this way. It didn't want anything like that to happen. Obviously, we don't know what happened backstage, but yeah, I mean, I don't hate Roman Reigns. I don't. I mean, I think he's a good wrestler. You know, it's just the fact that it seems like he's been shoved down our throat more than John Cena has. Actually, John Cena's been shoved down our throat a lot. And Roman Reigns has been shoved down our throat a lot too. And I think that was one of the main things that really got to the fans was that, and the fact that his mic skills were really iffy. It seemed like he tried to get him better over a period of time, but it seems like it just wasn't working. But I don't hate Roman Reigns. I don't. I feel like that there needs to be a different path for him, I suppose, you know. And honestly, I kind of feel like that's a heel turn right now, to be honest. And after what happened Monday night, when he pretty much said, he went out there to the fans and said, this is my yard now, and walked out, pissed off the fans. But the fans were on him like maggots on shit, or flies on shit, whatever. And although, you know, maggots come from flies, but whatever. they were on him like crazy. Oh my gosh, they were on him so bad about the fact of, you know, it's like, fuck you, Roman, please go, Roman, and leave, and all this stuff, and you suck, and all this other. I'm just like, oh my god, man. But yeah, but that's beside the point with me talking about Roman Reigns. The main thing here is me actually talking about The Undertaker. And ever since I had been growing up, he was always one of my favorite wrestlers. I think when I was much younger, I couldn't really tell the difference between fantasy and reality. I always thought that everything that happened in wrestling was real. Yeah, and at one point he was actually, I think he was a face and then he was a heel or something like that. I think it happened around the age of 7 or something when I was actually sitting in front of the TV watching him. And as soon as he came on and he started talking, I cussed out loud, and my mother was down the hall. She said, "What did you say?" And I didn't really think about it then. I was just upset. I don't know what it was about. I have no clue what it was about. I don't know if it was about a match that he had or something he said to another wrestler. I have no clue. I can't even freaking remember. But, yeah, it's just the fact that seeing him all throughout these years, and you knew that it was going to happen at some point. You knew that he was going to retire. We just didn't know how. We didn't know when it was going to occur or nothing like that. And I actually have been having a discussion with a few other friends of mine, and they had mentioned about how, oh, well, you know, he retired as the dead man, but he'll come back next year as the American Badass. I really don't see that happening. That would be funny if that did happen, but I don't really see that happening. And honestly, because he ended up taking his coat off, he took his gloves off, he took his hat off and laid him right there in the middle of the ring. And I read an article that had mentioned about how after everybody had left the arena, all of the ring crew and everything went in there, and they were, I guess they were taking stuff down for the night, and finally when they ended up shutting off the lights, because I guess they were going back the next day to move the arena elsewhere. Either that or it was in the same arena and they just took down part of the stadium. I don't know. I have no clue. But I read the article said that they had left the Undertaker's ring gear there in the ring the entire night, even while they were working in there. After everybody had gone home, they let it stay there in the ring, and then the next day they had I guess they took it out or had done something, I don't know, but they left it there the whole time and left it there overnight, I suppose. That was an article I read. I don't know if it was true or not, but if it was true, then that's definitely showing some real respect for a man in the wrestling industry that has been an icon, absolutely been an icon in the wrestling industry for the many years, many years. I remember when the streak got broken by Brock Lesnar, and there was actually a video that I had seen where The Undertaker was at a UFC event, and Brock Lesnar had just, I don't know if he won or lost or whatever, but he ended up coming up behind Undertaker, and he looked at Undertaker, and Undertaker said, well, you want to do this, or something like that, and Brock just kind of looked at him, I think, and didn't say nothing and walked off, and then Undertaker went back to his interview again, and from what I had heard, that was actually supposed to be the setup for them having their WrestleMania match, which came sometime later, and then Brock beat him, broke the streak. But I was actually having a discussion with another friend of mine tonight, as a matter of fact, about that, and probably, it kind of makes you sit back and think. You're like, well, maybe they should have let the streak go on longer. Maybe they should have let it move onward and just be the thing that would stay with him throughout his whole career and never be broken. And if it finally came to the point to it be broken, then you would want it to be someone who you think would be really worthy of it, or who you think could really do it, and nobody expected it to be Brock. But then again, I guess that also kind of makes sense in a ways for it to be a big surprise to people, like, oh shit, we didn't expect this to happen, Jesus, stuff like that. And well, sure enough, it happened. And I remember all the great matches. As a matter of fact, I don't have it down right now, but I actually have a DVD set of The Undertaker. It was like his entire story history of some of the greatest matches that he's been in, from I think the moment that he started in the industry up until maybe the early to mid 2000s, something like that. I think it was early 2000s, I believe. But yeah, I was thinking about actually breaking that out and watching some of those matches once again, considering what had happened Sunday night. And he has some great matches, and two of the biggest rivalries that I can think of that come to mind has been Mankind. That was a crazy rivalry. Mankind and also his brother Kane. That was nuts. And honestly, like I mentioned before, my friend that I was talking to, he was talking about how if Paul Bearer was still alive, obviously he should be the one who should end up inducting the Undertaker into the Hall of Fame, which I really do hope that they do. If this is indeed the end of the dead man, so to speak, that sounds terrible, but if this is indeed the end of an era, or the end of destruction, era of destruction, or whatever you want to call it, then he said that it should actually be Kane to do it, which makes a whole lot of sense. Paul can't do it. Paul Bearer can't do it. Rest in peace. He passed away, and so Kane would be the only other logical choice to induct the Undertaker into the Hall of Fame. So hopefully that'll happen next year. And honestly, if this is the end of the Undertaker with him retiring, then I'm pretty sure that WWE is getting a whole lot of feedback from fans about how they believe that Undertaker, if he's already over and done with, that he should be inducted into the Hall of Fame next year. And obviously he should be the front liner of it. He should be the one who should head the Hall of Fame, just like Kurt Angle did this year. I remember the Inferno matches that he was in. Especially, I think the first one that he was in was when he fought against Kane, and the first one to get caught on fire was the one that lost. His Hell in the Cell matches, his hardcore matches that he was in, his regular matches, and just the way, and it was kind of crazy how a man of his size and his height and weight was able to walk across the ring ropes without them breaking. I don't think I ever recall there ever being a match or anything where the ring ropes broke. And there's been times where those ring ropes have broke, or maybe it was planned. Maybe sometimes it's planned and sometimes it's not. But some of the matches that I've seen with other wrestlers that probably were half the size of Undertaker would end up breaking the ropes, or having something happen to the ring or whatever, although it probably seems like stuff like that is planned, especially in the past when it was like Brock or Big Show or something like that, they planned for the ring to collapse and all that, but when it came to the ropes, I'm like, dang man, they probably planned for some of those, but maybe accidents happen, but But it just kind of boggles your mind. You sit back and you're like, man, this man he's so large and tall and everything, and walking across those ropes and then just come down, you know, because it's like his tightrope walkie arm, twisty arm breaker fly off thingy. You know, I don't think they ever ended up giving it a name. They never did. It was just the fact that they called it old school. That's all that it was, because that's how he did it. You know, when he started out, that was one of his moves that he'd done. They just called it old school, which I wish it would have had like a name back then. You know, that something interesting like, I don't know, Hammer from Heaven or something like that, or Dirge of Cerberus, or I'm thinking Final Fantasy VII Dirge of Cerberus now. But I don't know. But he had such an amazing history, man. It's such an iconic wrestler and icon of the industry. It's hard to take in, you know. But you knew it was going to happen at some point. You knew it was going to happen, and I thought it was kind of funny at WrestleMania when they had like this 50 billion mile long ramp. Because, you know, it's WrestleMania, we gotta make it big, we gotta make everything huge and fireworks and do it outside, you know, just fuck it, we'll do it live, you know, just that kind of stuff. And I swear that ramp was so long, especially when they did the first match, when it was Shane that was coming out. I was like, Shane's gonna get winded before he even gets to the ring to face off against AJ Styles, for God's sakes. You know, like, AJ Styles is just gonna mop the floor with him, you know, and I was just like, but I thought it was really funny how, and even WWE knew it, I believe, because WrestleMania went on for a long ass time. It was like 6 hours or something. I think maybe 7 hours with the pre-show. They had Undertaker come up out of a ramp halfway down the ramp. You know, halfway down the ramp, up the little elevator or whatever it was. And then he went on to the ring, and they did the same thing when he ended up, you know, shedding his ring gear and put it in the ring and went on out and went down, put his arm up like he usually did, and he went on down into the elevator, down into the abyss, you know, down there, and probably hugging everybody. Maybe there were tears of joy and all that stuff and whatnot. But yeah, great wrestler. A great wrestler. You know, he was great with his characters too. When he was known as the Dead Man, all the way up until the point where he was you know, he was like the evil, demonic, you know, satanic Undertaker, you know, chanting evil, dark, you know, rituals or whatever the hell it was, and, you know, cutting his wrist and giving his blood to Midian and making him a part of the Ministry of Darkness and all of that, you know, and you know, crucifying Stone Cold and having like a dark marriage, or, you know, an unholy matrimony. You know, I think it had something. I think JR said that at some point. It was Jerry the King Lawler or something. I don't know. You know, where Stephanie McMahon was out there, and, you know, and then you were wondering who was behind everything with the Ministry of Darkness, and it was, you know, Vince McMahon. You know, it was me, Austin. It was me all along. You know, old Vinnie Mac, and pulling his head off, and then they became the corporate ministry, which I swear that had to be one of the biggest freaking stables, I think, in WrestleMania history. Besides the fact of the NWO and WCW, where everybody wanted to be in the NWO, and you had black and white NWO, you had red and black NWO, and then you had the Latino World Order. You know, and it's just like everywhere. I think maybe the corporate ministry may have been one of the biggest stables that I can think of, because you had everybody from the corporation in with the Ministry of Darkness, and that's just a hell and a half right there. That's just, you know, just a massive group of guys and girls that were all together. But yeah, there was so many great things with The Undertaker. So many great storylines, so many great rivalries, so many great matches. And you could tell over the past few years, especially at WrestleMania, you could tell that he was getting winded easily. He was, you know, it didn't seem like he was as, you know, obviously, he wasn't as, you know, up to form or up to par when it came to strikes and slams and all of that, which makes sense. You know, it does. He's an old man now. You know, it's time to retire, Undertaker. You know, go live out your years in blissful peace. You know, and whatnot, and realize that you had an amazing career. And, you know, it's a heartfelt kind of thing, really. It's just like kind of back when, say, Ric Flair, for example, good God, he went on, Jesus Christ, he went on for, what was he wrestling, like into his 50s or 60s or something like that? I'm just like this, but I tell you, man, Ric Flair, I mean, you know, he did what he could when he got up to that age when he was wrestling, but I swear, dude, he could still take some freaking bumps. I couldn't believe it. He could still take some bumps at those later ages of his life, man. I'm just like, Jesus, you know. But Undertaker, he was definitely an icon for the wrestling industry, and I'll always remember him being one of my favorite wrestlers. And probably within the next few days, I'm gonna crack out that Undertaker, you know, DVD with all of his great matches and everything on it, and probably give it a little bit of a look. Or hell, I could probably go on the WWE Network and watch some of that stuff. But I mean, with the DVD, you know, I have everything all collected and everything. And it kind of also brings to mind how lately, well, not lately, because I pretty much finished them up maybe about a couple months ago, how I was catching up on some old school Raw and SmackDown episodes from back in the early 2000s. And I was seeing the matches that he was in. He was still with his old bad American Badass gimmick until he finally went went back to the Dead Man gimmick, you know. And he just I'm just like, man, I hated the fact that I ended up missing these shows and I was missing these matches like I was, you know. But I didn't really have any choice in the matter. There was nothing really I could do. You know, I was in a boarding school that didn't believe in you experiencing the outside world. Just pretty much wanted to lock you away and, you know, not have anything to deal with the outside world. But what do you think when you graduate? You got to get in the outside world. So why don't you learn about it? You can't, because you're locked away, you know. And anyways, that's a different rant. You just... I hated that school. I fucking hated it. You know, especially also when I went to a private college as well, and same shit happened. It was a little bit more lenient there, you know, but overall it was the same shit. You know, I couldn't watch wrestling or nothing like that. We can watch the foosball. We can watch the foosball. We can watch the sports. We can watch a man nearly get killed on the field because, ooh, it's sports. But, oh, let's just not watch something that's choreographed, you know, and something with a story and, you know, all this other stuff. And it's, whatever. That's I've already ranted about that before, but I'm not going to do that. You know, just foosball. Watch him run down the field and throw the little ball. You know, just... Sorry. Anyways. But, yeah. I guess I'm just kind of at a loss for words because I've kind of said everything that I can really say dealing with The Undertaker and all of that. And just how much of a great icon that he was. And how he just really had an impact on me as a wrestling fan, as I'm sure he did with many, you know, other people, millions of other people, I'm sure. But anyways, yeah, I just wanted to make this video in regards to Undertaker and wanted to say thank you, Undertaker. You were an amazing icon. You're an amazing wrestler. You were an amazing wrestler. You still are, as far as I'm concerned. And yeah, thank you for all the great matches. Thank you for all the great rivalries. Thank you for everything that you've done for the industry, everything. And, you know, you're definitely an icon, man. And I hope to see you in the Hall of Fame very soon. So, anyways, I will end this like I always do. Later, taters.